Hello and welcome to our channel Middle Stump Cricket. In today's episode, we have lined up for you some of the latest and most crucial news roundups from the cricket fraternity throughout the world that you cannot afford to miss out on. So watch this video till the end without skipping to stay updated about all the news. Now before we begin, a small request. This is our first video, so please subscribe to our channel if you are new here and hit that bell icon to stay notified whenever we post. Now that's enough talk, let's get straight down to the point without any further delay. For the first news roundup, we have confirmation that Rahul Dravid is set to be the head coach for India's tour of Sri Lanka. National Cricket Academy chief and former India captain Rahul Dravid is all set to be the head coach of the Indian white ball squad that will tour Sri Lanka in July. Up next, we have some really good news as the World Test Championship final between India and New Zealand in Southampton will be held in the presence of 4,000 spectators at the stadium. It has been confirmed by Hampshire County Club head Rod Bransgrove. Next, we have some comments by Indian star Cheteshwar Pujara ahead of the World Test Championship final, and he seems to be pretty confident that India can beat any side and anywhere. The last time India played a test in Southampton, which is the venue for the World Test Championship final against New Zealand next month, Cheteshwar Pujara had scored an unbeaten 132. While India lost that game against England, Pujara played his part in keeping his side in the hunt, and he seems to be pretty confident of doing it once again. We have some more good news up ahead, with the England and Wales Cricket Board and the International Cricket Council permitting 4,000 spectators per day for the WTC final in Southampton. The Bharat Army, a dedicated UK-based fan group, is keenly looking forward to cheer for Team India when it takes on New Zealand in the Summit Clash. For the next news roundup, the Indian women's cricket team will compete in its maiden day-night test from September 30th to October 3rd when it tours Australia this year. The match will be played in Perth. Up next, we have some comments from former Australia batsman from Michael Hussey. He tested positive for COVID-19 in the IPL's bio bubble, and he has advocated moving this year's T20 World Cup from India to the UAE, as he feels teams will be nervous to travel there because of the raging pandemic, and he has said that it is difficult to play T20 World Cup in India this year. Up next, we have another news roundup about the World Test Championship. The Indian cricket team is eagerly awaiting a response to all the questions concerning the players' conditions for the marquee clash in Southampton from June 18th to 22nd against New Zealand. The International Cricket Council is expected to release the playing conditions in the following days. Next, we have some comments by Mark Boucher on AB de Villiers. The South Africa head coach believes that de Villiers has his reasons to decide against coming out of the international retirement and represent the national team in the upcoming ICC World T20 Championship despite being in good form. Speaking in an interview, Boucher said that AB de Villiers is still a potent force in T20 cricket, but he has his reasons for not making an international comeback. Moving on to the next news roundup, teen batting sensation Shafali Verma was on Wednesday promoted to Grade B in the BCCI's annual contracts list as the cricket board reduced the number of contracted players from 22 to 19. Going to the next news roundup, the BCCI is determined to host the T20 World Cup scheduled in October to November in India. That is how the cricket board will position itself when it meets the special general body meeting convened on the 29th of May. As for the second phase of the IPL, UK and UAE are once again top choices for that. Moving on to the next news roundup, wicketkeeper batsman K.S. Bharat will be travelling to the UK with the Indian men's squad for the upcoming World Test Championship final against New Zealand and 5-match test series against England. The wicketkeeper is covered for Riddhiman Saha, who has just recovered from COVID-19. Next, we have some comments by Mohammad Shami for Rohit Sharma. India's ace fast-paced bowler Shami has praised Rohit Sharma's leadership, saying that India's opening batsman and limited overs vice captain gives complete freedom to bowlers. as a bowler, whenever he goes to him for advice, he always gives positive answers and he tells the bowlers to do what their mind tells. Moving on to the next news roundup, New Zealand batsman Henry Nicholls had an unexpected start to his time quarantining in England when he switched on the television and saw a repeat showing the 2019 World Cup final. A remarkable match at Lord's was only decided in England's favour by boundary countback after a super over required when they had tied New Zealand's total at the end of their regulation 50 overs. For the next news roundup, Cricket Australia has said that they were hopeful of staging an Ashes series in front of full crowds later this year, but stressed that they would follow government advice when it came to admitting travelling supporters, as the schedule for the England's men's and women's tours was released on Tuesday. Moving on to the next news roundup, the BCCI has offered the men and women cricketers of India chartered flights from 3 cities to assemble in Mumbai on Wednesday before departing for the tour of England in the first week of June. Both the teams will have to undergo hard quarantine for 2 weeks in Mumbai. Players and support staff who live in and around the city will enter the bubble a week later. However, as news stand, the BCCI is negotiating for a soft quarantine in England for the teams where they can be allowed to train. Next, we have some good news as pacer Prasidh Krishna, who was named as a standby for India's tour of England, and veteran spinner Amit Mishra have both recovered from COVID-19. Both bowlers had contracted the dreaded virus during the currently suspended Indian Premier League earlier this month. Going to the next news roundup, former India captain Sunil Gavaskar has said that the fast bowler Mohammad Siraj has got better since the tour of Australia earlier this year. Gavaskar also noted that Siraj's performances for the Royal Challengers Bangalore in the 2021 Indian Premier League have been amazing. Going to the next news roundup, Australia's cricketers will play the first ever test match against Afghanistan in Hobart later this year, ahead of hosting the Ashes against England. This has been officially announced on Thursday. For today's next news roundup, Australia captain Tim Paine stated on Wednesday that the 4 Australia bowlers who played in the infamous Sandpaper Gate test have been in touch with Cameron Bancroft to clear the air over suggestions that they knew about the ball tampering incident. Bancroft, who was banned for scuffing the ball with a piece of sandpaper during the 3rd test against South Africa in Cape Town in March 2018, suggested in an interview last week that the bowlers had known about the attempts to alter the ball. However, not convinced by the Australian bowler's clarification in the 2018 ball tampering episode, former captain Michael Clarke on Wednesday said that the quartet missed a very important detail in an otherwise smartly worded joint statement. Their involvement was hinted by a former teammate and not outsiders. For today's next news roundup, West Indies have recalled their all-rounder Andre Russell for the 2020 series against South Africa, Australia and Pakistan as they prepare to defend the 20 overs World Cup title in India later this year. Next, we have some really debatable comments about Sourav Ganguly by Greg Chappell, and he says that Ganguly did not work hard, he only wanted to remain the captain to control things. He also recalls how Ganguly helped him in getting the job of Team India coach. For the next news roundup, when Ian Bell was asked about who has the greatest cover drive in the world, he said that it is hard to look past Virat Kohli's cover drive in world cricket. Bell, who was himself known for his stylish batting style, opined that Kohli's cover drive is the best in world cricket recently, even ahead of Pakistan's Babar Azam. Going to today's next news roundup, South Africa's veteran pacer Lonwabo Sotsobe has brought some serious allegations against former South Africa captain and current Cricket South Africa director Graeme Smith. Lonwabo has accused Smith of doing partiality during his tenure as the Proteas captain on the basis of ethnicity and race. Up next, Mohammad Shami has heaped praises on Kohli for brilliantly leading the side and taking Team India to new heights. Speaking in an interview, Shami said that fast bowlers are very aggressive, both old and new ones, but the one player who could probably emulate their aggression is our own captain. Sometimes when a picture of Virat's celebration of a wicket goes viral on social media, he funnily asks him, was it his wicket or Kohli's? He celebrates more than the bowlers themselves. Up next, this has been reported that Pat Cummins and David Warner are likely to be rested for the Australia tour of West Indies, and they can be excluded from the squad for family reasons. For the next news roundup, Shami Silva has been elected as Sri Lanka cricket president again after he and the majority of the previous set of office bearers were voted in uncontested. They will hold these positions for 2 years. For the next news roundup, the remainder of the Pakistan Super League 2021 has finally been given the go-ahead to be played out in Abu Dhabi in June. A significant overnight turnaround after prospects of the future of the 6th season had begun to look very gloomy. For the next news roundup, New Zealand all-rounder Kyle Jamieson is wary of expecting too much assistance from the Duke's ball on New Zealand's tour of England, saying that it could hurt their team's chances if their pacers get carried away by chasing its fabled swing too much. Moving on to today's next news roundup, COVID-19's impact on county cricket's richest club has been laid bare at Surrey's AGM, where the club announced a £1.2 million loss before tax during the 2020-2021 financial year. The figures were announced during the first event to be held in the club's new 175 suite. For the next news roundup, 13 members of West Indies Red Ball training squad and management have received their vaccinations against COVID-19 as confirmed by the CWI on Wednesday. The West Indies players and support staff are currently in a biosecure bubble in St. Lucia, preparing for the upcoming test series against South Africa. Up next, the Asia Cup schedule for 2021 appears increasingly likely to be postponed, with all the 4 major Asian sides facing packed schedules until the end of the year. It was set to be hosted by Sri Lanka mid-year, but ESPN Cricinfo understands that Sri Lanka cricket officials are skeptical that the tournament can go ahead as planned. For today's next news roundup, Paul Stirling, the Ireland all-rounder, has been roped in by Middlesex for the first 5 group stages of the 2021 T20 Blast campaign. He replaces Mitchell Marsh in the Lords-based outfit, who has been called up to the Australian white ball squad for their tour to the West Indies in July. For today's next news roundup, Dhananjay De Silva and Niroshan Dikwela earn top-tier A1 central contracts worth $100,000 for the upcoming 2021-2022 season, as Sri Lanka Cricket revealed a 5-point grading system to offer retainer packages for its contracted cricketers. The board also pruned its list of contracted men's cricketers to 24, down from 32 last year, while also introducing separate domestic development contracts and incremental contracts to others not on the primary shortlist. Up next, the Caribbean Premier League of 2021 will start on the 28th of August with the final set for September 19th. The organizing committee has confirmed. Like the 2020 season, the entire tournament will be held in a bio bubble, with the tournament moving from Trinidad and Tobago to St. Kitts and Nevis, with all the 33 games set to be played at the Warner Park. Now that's all for today's episode. I hope you guys found this video informative. If you enjoyed it, then please subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to turn on the notifications. We post interesting content like this every single day, and I assure you, you will absolutely love it.